Clean water, secure sanitation, and effective hygiene practices form the foundation of good health and play a pivotal role in fostering thriving communities. Despite notable efforts, the stark reality persists. 418 million people worldwide lack access to a fundamental level of clean drinking water, while 779 million lack essential sanitation services. Particularly alarming is the fact that 208 million individuals in Africa still resort to open defecation. Furthermore, a staggering 858 million Africans are denied access to safely managed sanitation and essential hygiene services. These alarming statistics were underscored during the recently concluded 7th edition of the African Sanitation and Hygiene Conference. This significant event was collaboratively organized by the African Ministers' Councils on Water and the African Union Commission, with the government of the Republic of Namibia graciously hosting it in Swakopmund. AfricaSan 7 centered around the theme of strengthening systems and partnerships for accelerated action on safely managed sanitation and hygiene. The conference unfolded over the period from November the 6th to November the 11th, 2023. The African Ministers' Councils on Water established the Africa Sanitation and Hygiene Conference to serve as a platform for both technical and political dialogue among governments and stakeholders within the sector. The primary objective is to facilitate the identification and sharing of knowledge to address the present sanitation and hygiene challenges across the African continent. Biennially, the Council collaborates with a host country to organize the AfricaSan Conference. This significant event serves as a platform to elevate the discourse on sanitation as well as hygiene issues to a political level, engaging representatives from across African member states. Since its inception in 2002, the conference has evolved into a continental sanitation movement, operating through a cyclical process of commitment setting, action planning, implementation, and monitoring. AfricaSan 7 brought together approximately 1,000 participants from over 30 countries. This diverse assembly gathered to examine water management and sanitation issues at a continental level, assess the progress achieved in water delivery and waste management, and collaboratively formulate recommendations and resolutions that will influence the future of sanitation and hygiene in Africa and beyond. The conference garnered the participation of ministers responsible for sanitation from various African nations, alongside attendees representing government agencies, civil society, donors, development banks, multilaterals, research organizations, and the private sector. The African Ministers' Council on Water Executive Secretary Dr. Rashid Mbazira underscored that AfricaSan 7 was grounded in the outcomes of member states' self-assessments as outlined in the 2023 AfricaSan Monitoring Report. This report provides a comprehensive reflection of countries' achievements and challenges in sanitation and hygiene, urging a realistic and critical examination of the issues at hand.
Part of how we got into the Africa Sanitation movement, we were dealing with water and sanitation as a sector. And we were reporting utilizing the system we call the African Water and Sanitation Sector Monitoring System. But at some point, as the results were being presented, it became clear that one of the sectors that was receiving not necessarily minimal but incommensurate attention was the element of providing sanitation and hygiene services. And that's how we made it a distinct focus within AMCAL.
The host minister, Honorable Kalish Leitvine, Minister of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform from the Republic of Namibia, voiced profound concern about Africa falling short of the Ngo commitments aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 6.2. The primary challenge continues to be achieving universal access to sanitation and hygiene services and eliminating open defecation by the year 2030.
We have to recognize, unfortunately, that we are far off the target. And that is in spite of the political commitments that we had. It is in spite of the international, multilateral protocols we have. In fact, it is sad to note that we are regressive. We are now worse off than we were when we took these commitments. And of course, climate change and COVID-19 play their roles in it. But the fact of the matter is we are not better as per the promises and commitments. We are worse. And that must be recognized, because you must admit and recognize the problem before you can look for strategies and interventions.
A week of enlightening plenary sessions unfolded, delving into discussions on legal frameworks, funding mechanisms and innovative strategies crucial for bringing about sustainable change in sanitation and water management. Namibia's Deputy Minister Dr. Esther Moyangwe set the stage for thematic sessions by highlighting the country's advancements in community-led sanitation.
I am delighted to report that substantial progress has been made in some regions regarding the construction of household toilet facilities, while other regions have seen slower progress. In total, 95 villages in 7 regions have been triggered, resulting in 1,740 toilets constructed by the communities. Over 32,000 community members, including thousands of children, have been educated about health and hygiene awareness, and this greatly assisted to mitigate the spread of COVID-19.
On day 4 of the conference, the AfricaSan Awards took center stage, honoring exceptional achievements and contributions of sanitation and hygiene champions across various categories.
The AfricaSan Award were formally launched during the 2nd edition of the AfricaSan Conference in 2008. The platform provides opportunity to network, greet, and dine, but also to recognize individuals, partners, and member states for their outstanding leadership, commitment, and dedication in advancing the cause of sanitation and hygiene on our continent. For the 7th edition of the AfricaSan Conference, we have a total of 21 awardees spread across 6 categories.
The AfricaSan 7 categories included the Leadership, Service, Lasting Impact, and Country Achievement Awards. As the week unfolded with discussions and festivities, concerns resonated among attendees about the millions still devoid of basic sanitation. The fading dream of the Africa Water Vision by 2025 prompted the birth of the Swakopmund Declaration. The conference wholeheartedly adopted the Swakopmund Declaration, a commitment to accelerated actions for inclusive, sustainable, and resilient sanitation and hygiene services delivery in Africa. The Swakopmund Declaration is dedicated to elevating the significance of water and sanitation within national systems for economic planning. It emphasizes their integral role as key components in mechanisms aimed at enhancing domestic allocations and attracting investments to the water, sanitation, and hygiene sectors. Dr. Tahani Sileta unveiled the Swakopmund Declaration, making a commitment to the integration of water and sanitation into national systems and the mobilization of funding for the African Ministers' Council on Water initiatives. Notably, there was a specific focus on supporting the Africa Water Facility, hosted by the African Development Bank. The declaration aimed to energize collaborative efforts towards the realization of inclusive, sustainable, and resilient sanitation and hygiene services.
We undertake the following: to revitalize the pursuit of the targets of the Ngor Declaration through promoting accelerated actions for inclusive, sustainable, and resilient sanitation and hygiene service delivery in Africa. To release the development potential of the sanitation economy to benefit business and society in Africa. Of particular urgency is the need to address the sanitation failures associated with floods and droughts, subsequently causing disease burden, constraining productivity of the labor force, and degrading the environment in most of the member states. The Africa Sanitation Policy Guidelines provide the framework for promoting the sanitation economy. To promote assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063 as the theme of the Africa Union of 2026.
In concluding the conference, Minister Kalish Leitwein acknowledged the weighty responsibility placed upon ministers and heads of delegation to carry the torch forward, diligently implementing the measures outlined in the Swakopmund Declaration.